They're excited to see 4/5 stack fun streamer games again. Oh, you're talking about like when they eventually do enable. I don't even think Season 9 is going to enable that stack. I think that's something they're going to be doing next season or next year. But I actually don't believe that that's something they're going to be fully enabling yet. So I think it'll be fun for us to be able to play together and have those exciting games again. When that will be, though, I just don't know, and how that will be overall. I don't think it's going to start there, though. So the stack is going to be massive. You can't wait. Oh, I mean, I can't wait either. I mean, I imagine for, like, honestly, like, the new stacking thing for people, I think is going to be super exciting for a lot of people because you can play with your friends at, like, a much wider range. Now, granted, we can't talk about the queue times in that one, so that's going to be pretty cool for players. For top 500 and, like, the new rank they're going to be having, I just don't know how it's going to go in general. Curious how the stacking will work. There's been no definitive answer. The thing is that they've given us what they'll be eventually doing, right? Which we know of that now. They haven't said anything on the stack. We just know it's coming for Season 9. They are doing new things with ranked, and that's pretty much where we're at. Which, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, yes, because they maybe talk about the features even more so right now. Maybe, my guess is, chat, they're probably still trying to iterate on it as much as they can. And that's just kind of like the process of when they have that new stuff. It's like, they've built the system they want, they're kind of where they're at with it, but they're not fully ready yet to release what they're gonna go with because they have to make those last minute changes. I mean, that's gonna happen generally. And my guess is when you, like, with gaming or games, I think, like, more likely you'll have these ideas, you create them, and then you have to iterate on them and, like, change them, like, last second. For the most part, is how I imagine it's happening. So right now, they're probably trying to figure out all the fine details that they would... If they didn't announce until next month, they would probably... Like, let's say that week, we didn't even know the new rank system was coming until next January. The amount of information they probably would have in comparison to what they had in BlizzCon was probably significantly more, right? But, at the same time, I still like that they announced the Season 9 stuff at BlizzCon because that gets you amped up for Season 9 and makes it realize, like, no, they're not just sitting there thinking rank's perfect and rank's good to go, right? And I think that's kind of like where we talk about that extra communication they have now is I prefer knowing that something like that is coming rather than just wait until them to announce it in the middle of January randomly, right before it's going to be released. I think their timings have gotten a lot better. And I think now the only thing that I would say is, like, when they do dev interviews, it also doesn't guarantee they're going to be doing something. This is different from, like, BlizzCon, where they announce they're doing the rank thing, but, like, they say they're testing something that could be a lot different than, you know, them coming out with a huge announcement and stuff. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm amped up for the new ranked. I think one of the things that has been an issue in Overwatch 2 since the beginning is ranked, right? Like, and I've had this discussion before. It's like, it just is not a... I don't know if, like, user-friendly is the best way to, like, explain it, but, like, the experience you have in ranked just isn't the... feedback loop. Feedback is just not good. It's just you don't. It's not good. So you don't. It's not enjoyable for the person who's participating in that rank system, unless you go 5-0. And even then, if you go 5-0, there's no guarantee you climb, which is also a problem in itself. Not that you should climb if you go 5-0. It's you should know why you're not climbing when you go 5-0. You see what I'm saying? Like that's the problem. Listen, I can go 7-0 and I might climb 40 ranks. Okay, I get a little bit more feedback in top 800 because of that. But, like, if you go, like, 7-0 and you don't climb, or you go 5-0, and then you go 7-0, and then you go 7-5, you feel like all that progress you were aiming towards and trying to climb up will not matter at that point because you're getting, like, this not really good feedback loop, right? Like, it's just not good. So, I'm glad that they're introducing new systems right now that are going to be in place that are going to give us a more definitive rank. Now, what are things I would like to see? I would definitely like to see an update after every game, which you're going to get now. I don't know. I'm really excited to kind of see where they go with the information because it seems like they're going to be putting a lot of information in there. So it's going from having absolutely no information to probably having too much information. And I say too much is like more of a meme because I have no problem with all the extra information. It's just going to be cool to go see it go from like the exact opposite of what it was before. And I think a lot of players, especially players who are kind of like in that spot where they want to play Overwatch, but like they like to play ranked. The current rank system just doesn't feel as rewarding enough to be able to go and really grind it because, you know, a 7-5 day in ranked feels like zero progress, even if it is, because you're not getting any updates. So this new system, even if you go 7-5, 7-4, 8-5, you're gonna have a little bit more of that like feedback that's gonna be like, hey, you know what? You didn't climb to the next rank, but you're right there. Here's your experience bar to level up. Here's your experience bar to rank up. Like, all of these things are such a big part of a rank system that the Overwatch 2 rank system just lacked. It did not have that, right? There was just no positive experience to seeing your placements unless you climb. But a lot of the time, the number one issue was I went 5-0 and I did not climb. So that's the problem. Yeah. We can talk about the SR system in Overwatch in general. I mean, I think a lot of people will agree on the idea that, yeah, like that should have been something they went with. I think what they're trying to do, and I think you can hear about it a little bit in the discussion, they want to make it a little bit more, and I can see where they're going with this one. They want to make it a little bit more like how do I explain it? Like, it's a lot. If you go, hey, my SR is 1,512, you may not know specifically what that is. So what they want to do is they want to give you feedback like you had in Overwatch 1, but they like the idea of having like gold 2 because it's a lot easier to know what gold 2 is in comparison to what the equivalent of SR would be in that range. So I get what they're doing with that one, which is why you're not going to see them bring back those exact SR numbers in general, because I think they just want it to be a little bit more. Listen, if you're gold 2, you have a lot better idea of what gold 2 is than if you had like a random SR rate within. So that part makes sense when it comes to like why they're going down the gold 2 right now. But yeah, the lack of information you had in Overwatch 2 was just unfair. Which also I'm glad that they made those changes, right? They could have easily just sat with that system and said, hey, you know what, like this is our rank system, and you know you'll climb, and that's it. You just gotta win games. Instead, they're like, okay, we understand that the lack of information isn't good. We want to give you a much more definitive experience. And I think that is, and maybe I don't know these exact numbers, but I feel like a lot of players, when they take breaks from Overwatch and they played ranked, the rank system was a big part of that, right? Like, you know, it's just the rank system was just, the feedback was not good. Didn't even ever thought about it, but having bad feedback on rank is probably the #1 reason you stop playing Overwatch. I mean, like I said, you know, there's going to be metas where you don't enjoy playing it as much. There's going to be certain balanced heroes that are super strong that might be like, okay, you know what, like, you know, that's tough. But overall, when you're playing ranked and you're just not getting good feedback, it came down to, will players want to continue to grind this rank system if the rank system didn't feel rewarded? And it's not that, like, you lose a game and gain SR. It's more like, if you have those good days of 5-1, you want to see immediate feedback. Or 4-1, right? If you can only play 5 games and you go 4-1, you're going to want to see like immediate feedback, not wait, oh, well, you know what, we'll log on tomorrow and hopefully I can get that 1 win, right? You know what I mean? And like that's the difference there, where like, no, hopefully this new system introduces that thing. It doesn't mean that like your rank games, it doesn't mean that the matchmaking will feel perfect. It doesn't mean any of that, but the feedback you're getting from the days that you are winning are going to be significantly better than the days when you're winning right now in the current rank system that give you legitimately no feedback. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I just would like to see good feedback with each game, understanding why you're not climbing, why you're climbing, and for it to be like a much more rewarding experience after a game in comparison to how it currently is. And I think that's what it seems like they're doing, and it seems like they understand what they're doing with that. Now the question is how will it implement it then? But I think like that's going to be the exciting part. I think it will be good. Keep in mind, whenever I talk about how the rank system will be, this is not talk about matchmaking. Matchmaking is going to be a different story, and I think there's a lot more stuff that goes into the matchmaking side of things. But keep in mind, we've had a rank system with matchmaking that can feel scuffed at times on top of a rank system that doesn't give you any like rewarding feedback outside of when you win 5 games. You know what I mean? That's a different story. I mean, there's obviously going to be different variations of things that can happen with ranked and like where they go, but like, yeah. So you said, what about a potential for carries with the new group system? No, I think group system. I think that's probably something they're looking into. I think that's something they probably understand. Granted, I think what they're looking at right now, and keep in mind, this could change. You know, how I feel about this could change. You know, the more I play ranked. I think what they want to see is they want to see what is going to be a #1 importance to them is allowing people to be able to play with their friends at a much wider range, or that concern that you just talked about, which is a valid concern with that. And I think that's what they need to see, and the only way they're going to be able to get that data is by actually just doing it and then going, okay, never mind, we have to kind of like take a step back on these like grouping restrictions because it's turned into exactly what you were talking about with that, right? But yeah, I think when it comes to the grouping restrictions in general and like where they're going to go with that, I think that's just one of those things where they're going to wait to see if they can get definitive data on it, and then they'll be able to make those choices if like they need to like increase the range, decrease the range. You know, is it good to have, you know, a Diamond 1 playing with a Bronze 5? I mean, I think overall, I think it will probably be fine, but I do understand the concerns of like, oh, well, will people just start, you know, will there be some interest in groups being created because of that to get players, you know what I'm talking about, right? I think people will be concerned about like, you know, the boosting aspect of it, things like that. Now, granted, that is still something they probably, at this point, I think they just want to test and see how it goes, and then they can make adjustments based off of that. I think that's kind of where they're at, and I think they're at the point now, they just want to test things out first, and then just see. And if there's a season where they're like, this has become an issue, then they'll probably address it a lot quicker. And my guess is that the systems they have in place now will be a lot easier, since they've been building this new rank system for a while. Do you think they will address the issues where you feel some matches you roll and other matches you feel you get rolled? You know, it's funny because that discussion becomes such a deeper discussion about the matchmaking, and like I truthfully, there's probably a lot more that goes into the matchmaking.
So
like obviously the matchmaker could say it's a
Friday
50-50 game, but like what happens if you join in and then somebody's monitor turns off for 25 seconds and that 25 seconds created a snowball in Overwatch? right? Where you're able to your team just rolls them because the monitor turns off for 25 seconds, right? I think things like that can also kind of heck that up a little bit. Or like, let's say that you know, one day you dominate as Widow, or sorry, one day, you know, I am having an amazing Sigma day. I go 12-1 on Sigma. The next day, I get rocked out of my ultimate 5 times in a row. And I play the same way, but the other team just plays a little bit better, right? It could have been against the same players. It's just there's a different factor that goes in there to that whole kind of scenario, I guess you could say. And I think that's kind of where that can be scuffed. Doesn't mean it can't be better or improved upon. And from what I can tell, they want to constantly try to improve that. It just comes down to like, how do you balance quicker queues? Will quicker queues result in less quality games? Should they increase the queue times to make it so the queue times are longer for more quality games, but results in longer queues? I think more often than not, players will probably lean more towards quicker games, etc. So I think there's a bunch of different variation of stuff that goes into that. But yeah, I think that's something that they're going to look into. And like, from my understanding, like, obviously, I think that they want the matchmaking system to be good. And I think that's something they're always going to iterate on. I don't think you'll really ever see like a perfect ranked in any game. But I think like every single game, if you look right now, has always tried to iterate on their ranked and make it a better experience. And Overwatch is doing that right now. So hopefully it leads to better experiences. It's probably going to be an interesting, you know, couple of months with the new rank system, but I'm really curious to see where it goes. And obviously we'll have deeper discussions about this when we have more and more information on ranked and where ranked is going. But so far, like, I like the direction they're going with it. Now it's like, how good will it be? So I think that's where we're at right now. Hopefully it ends up being good. Hopefully more players want to kind of come back and play Overwatch when they find out the rank system is better, in a sense of like the experience you can have both with your friends and at the end of a game, to where you get more information. So yeah, I'm excited to see.